Yo, what's up guys? Mike here, coming at you from the mushroom farm. Great video for you guys tonight. So tonight we're going to talk about how to price your mushrooms. When you're going to sell your mushrooms, or even if you're a produce farmer, how you should price your mushrooms or produce when you're selling them at farmers markets, restaurants, different things like that. I'm going to basically condense 9 years of my experience as a farmer into this short video and tell you guys everything I know. And I want to say, you new viewers tuning into this channel, my name's Mike. I'm a mushroom farmer. I've been farming gourmet mushrooms 9 years full time. Here's just a few shots of some of my grows over the years and some of my recent harvests. But I basically take all these mushrooms and I sell them at farmers markets and to high-end restaurants. We have over 250 videos on mushroom farming and mushroom cultivation on this channel. I'm doing daily uploads. We're doing monthly subscriber giveaways. So if you're into mushrooms and farming, make sure you click that subscribe button right now so you get more mushroom and farming videos like this in the future. But anyway, on to today's video, okay? How to price your mushrooms when you're going to sell them. Now, like I said, I'm going to condense 9 years of my experience into this short video, basically telling you everything that I know about when I started to where I'm at today and how I sell my mushrooms. Now, I'm mainly a farmer's market seller, okay? Now, I want to say this was a subscriber that actually asked this question and just told me to make a video on how to price your mushrooms when you're going to sell them. And I want to say, anybody asking that question, you're for sure a new grower, so this is going to be great for any brand new growers getting into mushroom farming, because I'll tell you the best way to start, honestly, is go sell at your local farmer's market, okay? Just because it's a low barrier to entry, you can get your feet wet, you can go out there and you can show everyone your product and try to sell your product. It's basically, you get to go and put everything out you got on the table that you grew for the week and sell what you can, all right? So anyway, how should you price these things? Now, let me tell you what I did my first year, and then I'll tell you where I'm at now, okay, 9 years later. So my very first year, I was selling single boxes, and I was selling them. This is extremely cheap, guys. This is like, we're talking back in like 2016, all right? And for like a small quart box of mushrooms or something like that, I might have been charging like $4 or $5. And I have gone up since then. And then even my adventure boxes, I was selling these mixed boxes. A lot of you guys have seen my adventure boxes. I was selling these for $10 at the time, all right? Now, I'm just going to use the adventure box, my kind of big size mixed box. They're basically 12 ounces to a pound. I'm going to use that for an example. All right, so using these 12 ounce to 1 pound adventure boxes as an example throughout this video, I'm basically going to describe to you guys how I've gone up with prices and adjusted prices along the way, and how maybe you should set your prices. So I started selling these adventure boxes at $10 a pop way back in 2016, all right? Now, today I have increased my prices. I've steadily increased my prices over time. I went from $10 a box to $12 to $15 to $20 to $25 today. So I have increased my price 150% from the first day 9 years ago when I went to the farmer's market and I was selling my adventure boxes. Now, allow me to explain kind of how this went at the farmer's market. And if you are new, okay, and you're thinking about selling your mushrooms or your produce or anything like that, most of the time, the farmer's market, your local farmer's market, is one of the best places to sell some of your stuff, just because it's such a low barrier to entry. You can basically grow all your stuff on your farm. Usually there's a small fee. You might have to get a couple things as far as legal paperwork right with that farmer's market, just depending on your local region and what's kind of required to enter in that farmer's market. But usually a low barrier of entry overall to get into the farmer's market, all right? Okay, so selling at the farmer's market. Let me just tell you guys about how I was pricing them my first year. I'll talk about my second year a little bit and then what it's kind of evolved into. Now, my very first year selling at the largest farmer's market in my area, which was my bread and butter, that was the money maker. So anyway, my first year selling there, I basically went there, and I remember it was my first day, I believe. There was a veteran of the farmer's market, and he basically told me, he was looking at my mushrooms and he was like, "You're charging too much for those mushrooms. You're never going to sell all those mushrooms." And I was just like, all right, whatever. We'll see how this goes. So that day, I did really well, actually. I believe I made like $300 or $400 my first day. Not too bad for my first day, but we've increased a lot since then, okay? Now, by the end of that year, I was having like $700, $800 days revenue-wise. So I basically doubled what I made that very first day by the end of that year, all right? So that guy was dead wrong when he told me that, so that feels good to prove him wrong. But anyway, what I noticed when I was doing that market, I was like, first of all, there's no other mushroom vendor here. I was the only gourmet mushroom vendor there at that market. So it was wide open, scarcity in the market. So you can almost charge whatever you want as long as you're presenting a good quality product and just providing value. And I'll talk to you guys about that a little more throughout this video. But when you're the only one, you're the one dictating the price, okay? So keep that in mind, number one, all right? So anyway, my second year then, all right? People had accepted me selling at that farmer's market. A lot of people could tell I was doing pretty good. And they were like, man, what's this guy? How do you learn all this stuff? He's doing better than I thought he was ever going to do. So that's seriously what happened. And there were some guys next to me that were from Honduras. So anyway, these guys next to me selling coffee at the farmer's market from Honduras, they had watched me that first year and they kind of seen what my stand had grown into. And they could tell I was very busy all the time. I always had really good regular customers too. So anyway, one of them came up to my stand one day and he was just talking business with me. You know, he's really into business, and he was talking to me about how I price things and actually just seeing how I run my business for the most part. And anyway, kind of talked to him about it, and I was like, yeah, well, the basic idea is I'm growing these gourmet mushrooms, and I'm the only one here with these things, so I'm selling them at a high price. And then he was kind of looking everything over, and he was like, dude, you're doing the pyramid, bro. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I didn't know anything about this, all right? I didn't research any business strategies, or actually, when I got into farming, I got into farming really just because I wanted to be a farmer, to tell you the truth. And anyway, it just made sense to me to run my business this way, just because you need to make enough to sustain yourself and to grow, okay? So anyway, here's the deal. He was like, you sell the highest valued product, so the expensive product at the top of the pyramid. You start with that, and then you work down the pyramid, okay? And the lower you get to the base of the pyramid, that would be considered, think about, let's just use Amazon, Walmart, those type of things, for example. When you have things at a big scale and you're selling by volume, but at the top of the pyramid, you're selling to a small crowd, but you're selling a high-priced product, okay? So what you're doing is you're doing a small amount of work, supplying to a smaller crowd, but you're charging a larger price. And I just want to say that is much easier for anybody starting out than trying to start at the bottom of the pyramid. When you're trying to supply everyone, think about that. Think about you trying to supply everyone at a low price. It's extremely difficult when you're starting. So what you want to do is you want to provide a high quality product, charge a high price, and supply a select group of people. And that's how you will truly do your best when you're starting this off, I feel like, if you're starting small, okay? Okay, so start small. That's the secret. Start small, charge a good amount. Next thing you want to do is a little market research, all right? So I recommend you go to the local farmer's market or the farmer's market you're thinking about selling your mushrooms at, and just check it out. See if there's any other mushroom vendors there. See what they're selling. See what they're charging. And here's what you do, okay? Instead of being that guy that's going to try to undercut them, outperform them. Outperform them and charge more. Create a better product, sell better stuff, and just charge more, and then you will do better than them, and then you no longer have competition, okay? Okay, so charging more. Let's talk about this a little bit. Just using for an example, even if there is another mushroom vendor there or another vendor there selling something similar to what you're selling, like I said, do better, outperform them, create a better product, and just charge more. Now, one thing about this, there's something called perceived value, all right? So if you're a consumer or a customer and you're just checking out any product, all right, you see one guy selling mushrooms and they're cheap, all right? Then you see another guy selling mushrooms and they're more expensive, but they look nicer, okay? Everything about it's nicer. Just the whole perception of it, you think that is the better one to buy. So you're going to buy the more expensive one a lot of the time there, okay? There may be some people limited by financial means or whatever, but not everyone, all right? There's a lot of people that will buy that more expensive product and not even question it. Now, one thing I want to say about this too, some people, when they're getting into this, sometimes they're thinking about selling out of their own wallet. Don't always do that. Remember who your customer is. A lot of times it's wise, and I've talked about this too before in other videos about market research and just checking out your local markets. Honestly, it's good to go to areas where either it's high volume, where there's a lot of people going through there, or it's just high income. If you set yourself up in one of those two areas, that allows you to charge a little more, and then you don't really have to worry about that at all. Now, there's a few things that being able to charge more will do for you and really help you with your business. Allow me to explain. So basically, when you charge more, that allows you not only to stay in business, but allows you to grow. And then you will be able to do better things for everyone else at their farmer's market or just your local community. You can grow better stuff. You can grow more, provide more food to more people. So you charging more in the beginning is going to help you in the long run big time, and it's also going to serve everyone else. Now, I also want to say, the inverse of that, if you do not charge enough, what happens? Then you go out of business, all right? So if people ever complain about your prices, stick to your guns, because here's the deal. If you go out of business, then no one gets your product. No one gets the good mushrooms, okay? So you got to do what you have to do to sustain yourself anyway if you're interested in doing something like this. So never be that person setting your prices super low, because then it just becomes a race to the bottom. Okay, so chefs, restaurants, grocery stores, wholesalers. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, I want to say I've sold to all of these over the years. I actually own my own mushroom retail shop at 1.2, so I'll talk to you guys a little bit about that. First, let's just start this off talking about chefs and restaurants, all right? So I'm just going to tell you guys what I would basically go back and tell Mike like 9 years ago when I was very first starting, the advice that I wish I just could have told him to be like, here, dude, this is what you need to do. So here's what you guys should do. Basically, I feel like standing orders with restaurants are a great thing. If you can create a standing order with a restaurant and they're going to keep you just buying your orders for several weeks at a time, that's pretty much guaranteed. So you might want to just go ahead, take it, stick with it, even if you have to charge a little bit less than what you're going to get direct to consumer or direct to customer at a farmer's market. I will say, just that being said, 95% of my sales still today are direct to the customer at the farmer's market. That way I can stay at that top of the pyramid, all right? Now, anyway, you may also have a chef or a restaurant that is just willing to take whatever extra you have every week. Sometimes there's guys like this. So if you have someone like this, save their number, maybe text them, email them, just however they like to contact you, and just let them know if you got any extra every week, because they may be willing to buy them, and that way you don't have to like dry them or process them or just throw them away. So that's another good way that you can also get rid of them. I've never personally been a fan of kind of like one-off orders, because I feel like it takes out of my day. I always have a lot of things going on the farm or just whatever going on that I'm planning for, and sometimes just taking that time out of the day just for one random order may not be worth it, especially if you can sell all the mushrooms you need to sell at a farmer's market. Now, I also want to say I've had several chefs over the years buy my mushrooms from me at the farmer's market, okay? And I'll still give them a wholesale deal if they're buying like several boxes of these things for sure, okay? One of the best, and I've had the best chef I've ever worked with. I worked with him this year, and it was at a super high-end restaurant, most high-end restaurant I've ever sold my mushrooms to. And basically, this guy, he was so good, he would come to the farmer's market, pick all my stuff up from me. He would tell me the night before, he would be like, hey man, I need this many pounds. I always kind of knew ballpark how many they were going to need, so I knew if they were going to need like 15 to 25 in that zone, I would usually grow about 25 to 30 pounds just for these guys. And then any extra that they didn't need, I'd just be selling them at the farmer's market, okay? But he would call me and he'd let me know. He'd be like, hey, bring this many to the market, okay? So I would have X amount of boxes boxed up for this guy. He would pick them up, take them. I didn't have to deliver them. That was amazing, okay? I also had their credit card on file that I could just charge them whenever I got back to the farm or whatever. And that's another thing too, you need to make sure you're getting paid, all right? So anybody that you have like on standing orders or wholesaling, have that all worked out so that you're getting payment, because every once in a while that could be a struggle. But I feel like nowadays there's so many ways you can do electronic payment, it makes it a whole lot easier. But those are some of my tips for selling to restaurants and chefs. Okay, we're going to talk about the retail shop when I own the mushroom retail shop, and I'm also going to talk about selling to grocery stores, wholesaling, things like that. Okay, so here's the thing. When I owned the mushroom retail shop, number one, I've made videos talking about this before. Here's a couple shots of it. It was really cool. I had a lot of fun doing it. We would teach classes there. I got to meet a lot of people. And it was in the middle of the city, in the middle of St. Louis, so there was a lot of people around the area. So it was a lot of fun for me. Business-wise, though, believe it or not, the farmer's market was way more profitable just because we didn't have as high of an overhead just supporting that whole business there. And I will say the retail shop in general, running the retail shop, consumed a lot of my time and energy, and that energy is honestly a lot better put into the farm and the work you could probably do on your farm or just reaching out to more customers instead of like sitting there in the retail shop, okay? Now, you could obviously hire someone to sit in the retail shop and do all the work for you and all that stuff. But I will tell you, a lot of people, when they were coming to the shop, they were really coming to meet me, talk to me. They wanted to talk to me about mushrooms and just let me tell them everything about mushrooms. And I will say that is kind of one of the things with me at the farmers market that does set me apart from other people. Like I was saying before, just outperform the other guy. If you can be more knowledgeable about your product and mushrooms than just other people, and you can tell people a whole lot about these mushrooms, they enjoy that, okay? So I will say, when a lot of people were coming to the retail shop, they weren't coming in just to buy mushrooms. They were coming in to have like the whole experience, to tell you the truth. For instance, I had business partners when I had that retail shop. When my business partners were in there trying to make sales, they would never make as many sales as I would, okay? And that's because people would come in to talk to me, learn about mushrooms, and I could educate them on the mushrooms and everything like that. And they would feel much more comfortable making larger purchases from me, okay? So think about this and think about how thin you're spreading yourself, because there's certain things that you should definitely be putting your energy into, I feel like, to really grow your brand and just grow your farm in general. Okay, so I wasn't like a huge fan of running the retail shop. Like I said, it was fun. Now, I want to tell you guys, I didn't do this right straight out of the gate, okay? This was about 3 years in. I made this decision to get some business partners and do the whole retail shop thing. We did it for 3 years until my lease was up, and then after that, I went ahead, I bought land out here in Colorado and just built my new farm. Now, I want to say, if I were to ever pursue that again, or if I could go back in time and like tell myself, hey, this is how you should look at the whole thing with the retail shop, the way I would honestly look at it, if I were to ever get involved in something like that, you would want to do it as a real estate investment, honestly. So we were in kind of like a little strip mall type of area, had like a storefront. Basically, what I would do going back in time is I would try to buy that building, that whole thing, get several of the units there. That way you can rent out other units within that little strip mall or whatever you're in. So you can have just like, it's a real estate investment as well. It's not just your mushroom retail shop, okay? So that's one way you can look at it. And I want to say, even back when I had that retail shop, I was totally, I maximized having that building. I will say, paying that rent, I was totally that entrepreneur. If you ever hear those stories of that guy that like slept on the floor in the back of the building, that was me, dude. I did that basically the 2.5 years that I was there. That I would, a lot of times I'd be there working all day. Maybe I'd go do a little workout at the gym or something at night, take a walk, come back, eat some dinner, do some more work on the farm there, in the lab in the back, and then all of a sudden I'd crash, I'd go to sleep, wake up the next day, do it again, dude. So I actually lived in the back of that shop when I had that back then, okay? So you got to do what you got to do at certain times, but that's kind of how I was doing it back then. But after experiencing all that, I was just like, man, you know what? I just need to get back to like owning a farm, doing all the work I can on the farm. And now you guys can see I built a YouTube channel. I would go ahead and I'd recommend anybody too, if you're thinking about starting any type of small farm or business, definitely get on social media. Social media is such a huge lever nowadays that you can reach people all over the world, and you're no longer limited just for your little community. Like I said, the little town I live here, I'm in a very rural area of Colorado, and the closest town has 400 people, okay? So we have more than 10 times the amount of people just on this one YouTube channel alone. So use social media to your advantage. And I'll say too, I'll actually make some videos in the future just talking about social media and what it's like using YouTube and social media for your business, because I'll say it's helped me dramatically for my business, and it's been a really huge asset to my farm over the years. So we'll talk about that in some other videos. Now, I want to say this was a subscriber suggested video just talking about setting prices tonight. So if any of you subscribers or anyone tuning in has a video you want me to make for you guys, just go ahead and drop it down below in that comment section. I really enjoy making all your videos. I also want to say I have a Black Friday sale going on right now. All you have to do is click down in the description box below. You can get your discount code Mesa25 to get 25% off anything on my website. Everybody that has placed Black Friday orders or in the sale, thank you all so much. I really appreciate you. All your orders have been shipped out. You guys should all have tracking information. And I'll say my subscriber giveaway winners too. You guys, all your stuff's in the mail too. I haven't sent you guys the tracking information yet just because it's not automated, but it's in my phone. I'll send you guys that tracking information in just a little bit here too, just so everybody has it. But everyone's packs are on the way. So if anybody wants to make some orders, get those orders in before Friday. You can still get that 25% off, and then the prices are going back to normal. But anyway, that's really all I got for you on this one, guys. Hopefully you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please drop this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But that's all I got for you on this one, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.